representing physical assets as digital tokens on the blockchain. I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet and Tech Republic, and joining me is Jesse Lund, Vice President of Blockchain at IBM. Welcome, Jesse.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Thanks.
So how is IBM involved in the FinTech world?
Well, I think if you take financial services and technology and sort of mash those together, you could say that both of those things are core competencies for IBM for the past, 100 years or so. They say that 97% of all financial transactions goes through an IBM mainframe at some point along the way. So we've been in financial services for a really long time, and we're a pretty big tech company too. And so we've been connected to a lot of paradigm shifts and revolutions and evolutions over the last 100 years. And this is just the next wave. And I'm excited to be part of it.
You're actually speaking at South by Southwest 2019 on the token economy, digitizing real world assets.
I am.
Explain what a token economy is.
Well, as we move into this world of greater interconnectedness, right? That's enabled by the internet over the last 20 years. I think what's happening is this shift in financial services where there's an expectation that money should move or value should move as quickly as information does. And the infrastructure and the financial systems of the world are just not there yet. And so with the advent of digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, it was all started 10 years ago by Bitcoin. We're now actually seeing that real world assets and real world value can be tokenized in a way, and these tokens can be more readily and freely exchanged on these interoperable digital networks that allows, ownership of real world assets to transfer across long distances very, very quickly. So in a nutshell, we're kind of seeing the tokenization of real world material things in a digital form that allows for a whole new type of transactional construct.
What is a central bank digital currency, and how would its relative value be set?
Well, I mean, the relative value of fiat currency, which is what's produced today by central banks, is really controlled by the monetary policy of the bank itself and the jurisdiction in which it operates. You could think of a central bank digital currency as really just a new denomination of existing fiat currency, because it would be a token issued by the central authority that issues paper money as well. But I think in doing that and making digital fiat accessible to the public domain, that is to non-bank entities, has a really potentially profound impact on the local, the domestic economy, and the global economy, depending on the currency.
You mentioned earlier representing real world physical assets as currency as digital assets. How would something like a real estate transaction be tokenized? How would you account for the property, title, down payment, and an ongoing mortgage?
Right. Yeah. So great question. So, we think of real estate first and foremost as a tangible asset, real world asset. So real estate right now, if you look at the disparity of how real estate titles are recorded, they literally vary from county to county, from municipality to municipality. There's very little standardization in that, and that's okay. But if you think about the way that real property transfers value, real estate, it goes through this whole process of title validation, and then there has to be title insurance to make sure that the buyer is protected, that the property is not encumbered in some way. And you just think of all of the efficiencies that would be gained if the title to that real property was expressed in a digital way, a digital token, that was accessible on a public network, so that you wouldn't need title insurance because you could go out and verify immediately that this title does belong to the person you're buying it from, this property does, and that it's not encumbered or bound up in any other way financially by some interested third party. So a real estate transaction would be a lot easier, I think, than it is today, and I think a lot more transparent and friendly to both buyers and sellers.
What are some of the regulatory decisions being made that will pave the way to digitize all types of assets?
Yeah, that's the big question right now. So we've been learning and seeing that the regulators are paying attention, which is good. It's good to know. The SEC, 6 or 8 months ago, started issuing subpoenas to, coin issuers, through this whole ICO craze that seemed like it came and went, but it was good because it's created this new sort of security token model where the regulators are now starting to think about how to classify these different digital assets. And I think that's really important because we, as the general public, we hear the word cryptocurrency and we think, oh, wow, it's overwhelming. There's over 1,200, cryptocurrencies, or 1,400, or however many are out there. Well, there's really not, because if you boil them down and you really start to apply some discipline to, of asset classification to these things, you realize, well, some of them are securities, right? Plain and simple. Some are commodities. Some are currencies. And depending on the asset class, it determines who the regulator is and what the rules are, right? But the idea that once we get classification right and the regulators kind of get their bearings on this new token-driven economy, that the efficiency of having these different types of asset classes represented by digital tokens accessible on public or publicly accessible and interoperable networks all of a sudden changes the game when it comes to buying and selling things. And that's what we do as humans, right? We buy and sell things. The world's getting smaller. And so we can sell and buy further.
Since cryptocurrency transactions are anonymized, how does crypto use help the authorities catch bad actors who use crypto actually to hide their mischief?
Yeah, that's another really good topic. So I think part of that is a misnomer. I think to say that cryptocurrency transactions are completely anonymized is a bit of a misnomer, because every transaction, at least on the public crypto networks like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, and others that are derived from them, are really traceable from beginning to end. And so when you talk about moving value into and out of these networks, which is what these crypto exchanges do, I've always said we need to encourage criminals to start using Bitcoin, not discourage them, right? It's not just for nefarious actors, because if these criminals are using just plain cash, paper cash, it's a lot harder to catch them. But if they're using Bitcoin, we're eventually going to get them, because it doesn't matter, where at whatever point you move value into or out of the network, like that creates an event where the authorities can come down. And now I realize that there is a group of people who wants transactions to be anonymous, and there are cryptos, Monero and Zcash and others that are designed to do that, and I think that's perfectly fine. That's filling a niche that there is market demand for. But in general, I think cryptocurrencies, well, I know, are more traceable than cash, just outright.
Jesse Lund, Vice President of Blockchain at IBM. Thanks for shedding some light on what you're doing and the work that you're doing there and your talk at South by Southwest. If somebody wants to connect with you, maybe they want to find out more about your work, how can they do that?
Easiest way is jesselund.com, and you can get me on Twitter and LinkedIn the same way.
All right. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or go to my website, tonyahall.net. I've got links to all my social sites. Thanks for watching.